I am here with a good buddy of mine, in which we actually climbed the wall. This is going to be Aziz from History of Westeros.
Hey, what's up, my man, Sir Hunt? Yeah, we climbed that wall in Nashville, big 700-foot ice. That's what it was, right? We climbed a 700-foot ice wall. That's how I remember it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can see right here. This is the wall, and this is me, Sean, and Aziz, and we're climbing it. So yeah,
all the way to the top. I'm caring about that cold, even though it was Nashville. I don't know how they got that wall in there, but you know.
But yeah, speaking of which, we actually met each other at the Con of Thrones, which was this year. It was back in July. And quick plug, real quick, there's going to be a Con of Thrones 2.0, and it's going to be in Dallas, Texas, in May of next year. So if you guys want to know more about that, you can check out the link down below in the description. But with that aside, in this video, we're going to be discussing, the possibility of Jon and Daenerys having a child and the fact that they're going to find out they're related next season and what could come about because of that. The first thing I want to mention, and I want to get your opinion on, Aziz, is Daenerys pregnant? Like, is she carrying Jon Snow's child or Aegon Targaryen's child?
Aegon, right?
I like that, Aegon. I like that.
Yeah, it's funny because that nickname's been around since like the 90s. Because once people figured out back in the day that couldn't have been the name Jon, wasn't the name Lyanna and Rhaegar gave him. That had to be Ned's idea. So people started coming up with all these other names, and Aegon was born. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm not sure if she's pregnant, but I definitely am suspicious that she will be. They've only been together the one time, but that's clearly not going to be the last time because that was, they're into each other. So if it's possible for her to be pregnant, we're going to know pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't necessarily.
No.
Yeah,
I'm going to lean towards no because, she was with Daria for all that time and she never got pregnant. She had no reason to take precautions because she doesn't think she can get pregnant. I don't think Daria was being that kind of careful either. So, so I'm going to guess no, but I used to be a strong no, and now I'm like, it's a slight no. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a yes.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, if I was Dario, it's not like I would press that situation. Like, shouldn't we be a little bit more careful? Like, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, I think the main thing that may be special about Jon and Daenerys' union is that's like it's a union of ice and fire. Jon's got that Targaryen, that Targaryen sperm, and maybe it's the key to that is like the incest. Maybe that's why they had the sister wives. Now we know that's not why, but I'm just saying there's a possibility there. So I think. I know you're saying like a light no, maybe could be possibly. I'm gonna say yes, and the main reason being is just because we have only 6 episodes left, and I feel like if she's gonna be pregnant, which I think it's all kind of leaning on that. We had all those characters foreshadowing. Jorah's like, Jon, give the sword to your child. Tyrion's like, who's next in line? You need to come up with a plan. So I think that because there's only 6 episodes, it'll be addressed pretty quickly, and I do think Daenerys will be pregnant, but. Continuing on with that same train of thought, who do you think is going to be the one to tell Jon? Like Bran or Sam?
Yeah, fantastic question. I would think right now, if Bran and Sam tell anyone, they're going to tell Jon. And if they don't tell anyone, they won't tell anyone. They won't just like tell a few other people and say, hey, don't tell Jon though. So I think they're either going to tell Jon and they're going to agree to tell Jon. Or they're not going to tell Jon, and it's going to either stay between those two, or it's going to get out into the world. Although, I guess they could tell Jon and let him decide whether he wants to let everybody else know, and that's a whole other. I guess it's a whole other scenario. Maybe Jon will decide to keep it quiet or not. Jon being the kind of guy he is, though, he's such a strict, like honest guy, like everyone should know the truth kind of dude. So I don't think he would hide it, but he would also be like. Well, damn, look at how much telling the truth has got me in trouble before, but that doesn't mean he won't stick to it because that's just the kind of guy he is. He's pretty damn stubborn.
Yeah, in touching on what you were saying about them not telling him, I think that might be an option as well. It's like maybe not Sam as much because Sam is more human and he's like, I know Jon, like you had mentioned, Jon is an honest person. So Jon would want us to tell him the truth. But Bran being like more robotic and more not Bran, Blood-Eyed Raven, or Blood-Eyed Raven. Oh wow, that's a fucking new one. That is a fucking new one. People always give me shit because I always say Blood Raven and they're like, dude, it's the 3-eyed Raven. I'm like, yeah, but not in the books. So yeah, but anyway.
Blood-Eyed Raven works. His eyes are red, man.
Yeah, I like that one. Well,
his eyes red.
But yeah, So no, I think, Bran may be like, well, look, their union is one of prophecy. Like, we need them to stay together. We need them to procreate so that their child can sit the Iron Throne and rule, Westeros or whatever. And that could be an option, is maybe, Bran decides that maybe it's not the best for Jon to tell. It could be either that Bran is like, look, their union needs to happen. It's a union of ice and fire. Or it could be more as like, they don't have the heart to tell them, because that's another thing that leads me into the next line of discussion, is they're headed to Winterfell. Are they going to walk in all booed up, and who's going to find out first? Like, what's going to be everyone's reaction to that? Like, what do you think? First off, what do you think Arya? How do you think Arya is going to react to that?
I think Arya is going to be cool with it, because she's such a Jon backer, and whatever Jon, I think if Jon says it's the right thing to do, she'll probably go along with it. She just trusts Jon explicitly, and he's proven over and over that he puts like duty and loyalty before his own personal safety.
Duty
might be different because he's really into Daenerys, but when he was really into Ygritte, he still, when it really came down to it, he chose duty over her. And this is different because he doesn't necessarily have to choose one over the other. It's not like Daenerys is trying to attack the North like Ygritte was, so he maybe can have his cake and eat it too. But like you said, there's another complication here. Bran and Sam, maybe they're coming up with this plan. Maybe they're right now, deciding what to tell Jon. But they're doing that not knowing that Dany and Jon have hooked up. They don't even know that yet, right? That's still, so both of these two pairs of people, Jon and Dany and Bran and Sam, don't even know about, like, Jon and Dany don't know about the parentage and the heritage. And Sam and Bran don't know about the hookup. So it's possible that, and Dany and Jon aren't exactly publicizing this yet, because it's kind of dangerous for them to have a romance. Getting married is one thing, but having a romance on the side, that's part of what Tyrion's worried about. Now, I know there's more to it with Tyrion, maybe some jealousy, some other stuff, but part of it is like, imagine two of your bosses start dating, You're like, uh-oh, that could be pretty, that might not go well, right? What if they start hating each other? Or what if they love each other too much and they stop listening to everybody else? So there's, but if they're keeping it on the down low, imagine that. They show up at Winterfell and they're like, no hint that they're together, because they don't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
Right? So Bran and Sam don't even know about that. So they just tell Jon, like, hey, this is up. And Jon's like, oh, crap.
Wish you had told me that on the fucking boat, bro. Like,
boat sex is perilous, man.
Yeah. And then okay, so, come on, like, I don't necessarily have an issue with it because it's like a make-believe place, but it's also like in modern day society and in their society, it's frowned upon. The way that they edited that together, showing Lyanna and Rhaegar getting married, and then they go back to the Tower of Joy flashback, his name is Aegon Targaryen, and then you cut to them on the boat, like, that whole thing was just mashed together. It's like they were just trying to show you, they were just trying to shove incest in your face, and like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of the like super casual viewers still didn't exactly know what was going on. They're like, wait, even though they spelled it out, some people are still like, wait, Dany and Jon, wait, what?
Exactly. So a lot of
thought that was Viserys.
Exactly.
Rhaegar,
I was about to say that. Some people had commented on one of my videos and they were like, so Viserys is Jon Snow's father? How did he look like he was like? I was like, no, not at all. But yeah. And it's funny, in the comment section, everyone's split about the incest, and I'm sure we're going to see some people down in the comment section below. It's like, one person will be like, incest is wrong, it's disgusting, and it shouldn't happen on mainstream TV. And then you'll have someone else who will comment right below that and be like, look, this is a make-believe place. Who gives a shit what they do? It's a damn TV show. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
It goes to show how deeply, like, we all, like, our culture hates it, because when the actors, when Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke were interviewed about the relationship, they both like did the gagging face, like, it's so gross. And I'm like, it's so gross? Have you seen each other? That's Kit Harington, Emilia Clarke, like, y'all are super hot. You're not really related. Come on.
I think they might do that because Rose Leslie and Kit date in real life. So I think they're all friends with Emilia. So I think it would be awkward, And they're probably just like, yeah, let's pretend that it's disgusting because I'm friends with your girlfriend. You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's a great point. Yeah, he doesn't want to get in trouble with. So.
He's like, yeah, she's gross.
He's like, oh, terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, she's my aunt. It's gross.
That's funny.
He's not hot at all. No.
So you had mentioned Tyrion, and there was an interview that Peter Dinklage did before the season started where he actually mentions how his character is in love with his boss, which is going to be awkward going into season 7. You know, it's like you're working underneath someone who you're in love with. So what are your thoughts on that? Like how jealous is Tyrion going to get, and is it going to cause him to maybe, I don't like saying this because I don't think that the 3 betrayals was really a thing on the TV show for Daenerys. I know it can be argued that it is, but people keep thinking that one of the members of her party are going to betray her. So you think this would maybe lead Tyrion into like a jealous fit? Maybe he would do something irrational? And
I don't think he would go that far. I think it's going to be a difficult thing for him. He's got a whole lot. I mean, Tyrion is in the proverbial rock and a hard, Casterly rock and a hard place. He's like, hates the fact that he's at war with his own family. And now Jaime's like kind of defected to his side, so that that helps a little bit. But still, Cersei's pregnancy is pretty rough on him because that's Jaime's kid and that's his family. So that's tough for him. Now he's got this whole, jealousy thing on top of that. So he is truly caught between both sides. He's got love for Cersei's kid. He's got no love for Cersei, but he does have love for his family, and he does have some, love for some of the Lannister soldiers, because as we saw in Spoils of War, like he saw all that destruction. It was like, man, this is not what I had in mind. And so it's really hard to predict because there's so many different emotional things tugging at him. He's got his own family, he's got his own jealousy, but I don't think his jealousy is going to push him that far. I think he's too in control of himself to let it go that far. I don't think he has any disillusions about getting together with Dany. I don't think he thinks that it's really possible. I think he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna, he's probably resigned himself like Jorah. Jorah took a long time to get used to the idea. Yeah, but I think Tyrion's a little more in control of himself.
Well, yeah, and I think the boat sex, him coming outside the door, and did you see that meme from the Free Folk subreddit where the guy's like, dude, I understand that y'all want to hook up, but in my room, really? And that's like why Tyrion was outside the door. He was like, you guys just do it
in front of my salad.
Exactly. But no, what you were saying was it kind of brings up a point where it's like, love makes you do foolish things, right? So maybe Tyrion is in love with her, and then you can see the banter that him and Daenerys had when it was just them on Dragonstone before Dany left in the episode Beyond the Wall. She's like saying he's too short, and then Tyrion's like, too short, and she's like, you know what I mean? So it kind of, and she immediately felt bad and she apologizes. So to me, I kind of felt like, and then the way she pinned him back in season 6, right? She like pinned him, hand of the queen, and there was like a very sort of like a sexually charged exchange, and a lot of people were like, dude, you're fucking crazy. And then when it happened, when Tyrion confirmed it in an interview, I was like, thank God, you know what I mean? At least I got one Tyrion prediction right. But no, I don't know. I think that maybe since he is in love with her, it might make him do something foolish because love makes you do foolish things. But do you agree with that? Do you think love would make Tyrion do something foolish like that, or?
I think it could make him do something a little bit foolish, but he was burned pretty bad, by Shay, and letting him get, and I think maybe he learned a lesson there. Not that it was all Shay's fault, but he didn't use his head first, and hopefully he learned from that. Maybe he won't, but it's tough to say. Maybe I don't think he's going to do anything like disastrous, but maybe it'll just like push him a little bit to do something wrong. Maybe like certain decisions, he argues a certain way, whereas before he would, like how he was really arguing for her safety, like he's like really protective of her in that case, that kind of thing. Maybe he's like too protective of her, too worried about her getting hurt because he loves her and not just because she's the leader, things like that. I think it's going to be a little more, the show isn't always super subtle, but I think that kind of subtlety is the kind of thing they do, and they do pretty well sometimes. Because Tyrion's feelings for her have been fairly subtle. Like there's the spot where he was staring at her when she like stood up, and he was still staring at where she was sitting in season 6, and stuff like that kind of gave the hint, but they haven't kind of outright said it. Some of the stuff, I guess there was some stuff scenes that weren't filmed that Bronn was going to be telling Tyrion not to fall for her and stuff like that.
You know, one of the more heavy themes in George's novels is unrequited love. That's like one of the worst things ever. So, you know, that could be a heavy theme on the show, and maybe that's why they didn't outright come out and say, like, Tyrion having a conversation. Like, maybe that's why that scene was cut, because they felt like it's better to just, like, I know as a teenager, man, I never had the balls to talk to some of the chicks that I liked. You know what I mean? So it's like, that was the worst ever. And then come to find out when I'm older, oh, they had a crush on me too. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's like, it's like, that's like one of the worst things ever is like unrequited love. So they'd be keeping with the theme of his books, you know, more so if they were to do something like that. But that kind of veers me into, who do you see Tyrion wanting to like pursue a relationship with? I'm a big fan of the theory that he'll get back with Sansa. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah, you never know. I honestly haven't thought about who he might end up with. I wonder if it's anyone in particular. Maybe they won't have him, you know, have a relationship when it's all said and done. But if it's anyone, I could maybe see it being Sansa, because she, you know, I mean, she's not attracted to him, but she's done with marriages that are made, you know, with arranged marriages. She's going to want to be with someone she trusts. And she's probably, she might have, you know, like if we're thinking about it from like a human perspective, think about Brienne. Everybody likes to joke about Brienne, you know, and how she thinks about Tormund and how she's kind of like, ugh. But people sometimes miss that Brienne's first experience with love was that bet that those knights, you know, made to try to pretend to get her, you know, and so she's like a little bit traumatized by her experience there. Like, how could she trust anyone that really being interested in her when the first, you know, when she was young and people pretending to be interested in her. So Sansa, on the other hand, has had awful experiences with men, like way worse than Brienne. I mean, she was with Ramsay. So she might, you know, her view on men is very, quite possibly very changed, you know? And so she might be cool with someone like Tyrion, who's not, you know, has already shown that he respects her and isn't going to force himself and you know, genuinely cares about her. And she may not be willing to trust anyone to get to that point again. But she's already gotten to that point with Tyrion. So there's some merit to this idea, but also, you know, maybe she just won't be attracted to him, and that's that. Maybe that'll just be enough.
I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what will Westeros' reaction will be? Let's just say that Jon finds out, and that doesn't stop him from wanting to pursue a relationship, because it's kind of like, you know, it's already too late at that point. They're already in love, and they decide that they want to tell Westeros, well, maybe not necessarily that Jon has a claim to the Iron Throne, but maybe it just becomes like public news. Like, you know how Cersei is kind of out in the open with Jaime now, you know? Like, what if it's something like that? Like, the news travels from the north because, like, people in Winterfell find out that Jon is related to Daenerys. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I mean, the same way I think I totally agree with you, because the same way, I mean, Jon didn't ask to be king of the north. They just were like, hey, you're the best. We're making you king of the north. That same kind of sentiment could carry him to the Iron Throne. He's like, I don't want that. I don't want that. But if they push it on him, and it's, you know, he's a man of duty. If he's, you know, like Stannis, he didn't want it, but it's his, right? So he might see it that way. And if other people are pushing it on him, like, hey, you're king. That's it. It's law. You're the king. We're going to support you. We're going to push for this. You know, that would be hard for him to be like, no, because that's the kind of guy he is. You know, if facts are facts and he believes that he's really the king, he might be like, well, I don't want this, but
yeah, it's hard to,
you know. Yeah,
it's hard to kind of predict Jon like just by himself single, and now that he's in a relationship, it's even harder, because it's almost like him and Daenerys are, you know, it could be argued that are equally. I feel like Daenerys has more of a claim to it, just because she would actually want it. You know what I mean? I feel like Jon would be, especially with being in a relationship with Daenerys, he's probably going to be like, look, babe, you can have it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And if they get married, that kind of solves the problem. They're king and queen. But if they, you know, and since they're, you know, into each other, it might be solved that way. But I don't know. It feels like that's too simple, and maybe Game of Thrones needs to give us some more drama than that. It's just them working it out through marriage.
All right. So yes. I think we're going to be getting pretty much to the point where we'll be wrapping this up. One last thing that I wanted to get your opinion on, and it relates back to Westeros' reaction to Jon Snow and Daenerys having a relationship, is it even, okay, and like bear with me now, is it even really that bad because they're aunt and uncle and not twins? You know what I mean? we do have the twincest that takes, and she's making it publicly be known. You know what I mean? Like Jaime's walking out of her bedchambers in the morning, like she could care less. So I feel like, is it really that big of a deal?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, this is funny because I think it's not a huge deal these days because the people that would make the biggest deal out of it just got blown up and decept, right? The faith are the ones who would really hate that, and the faith's power is at a real low point right now. So they might complain, but they don't exactly have a lot of political power to do anything about it at this point. But honestly, the person who I think might have the biggest problem with it is Jon himself. He's such a man of his values. He sticks to his values, and he may not personally think that incest is a big deal, but the old gods, he was raised to believe that incest is a abomination in the eyes of both old gods and new. And he may not be able to divorce himself from that upbringing. He may be like, not grossed out personally by it, but his culture says it's wrong. He may not be able to get over that. I think Dany won't have a big problem with it because, in her upbringing, it was normal. Because she was brought up thinking she was going to marry Viserys, so I don't think it's going to be a big problem for her.
Yeah, that's true.
It might be though. I just think of the two of them, it's probably going to be a bigger issue for Jon.
I like that you brought that up because honestly, every time I've thought about this, I always go immediately to Jon. What's going to be Jon's reaction when he finds out? Like, I never even thought about Daenerys, and you made it perfectly clear. She was brought up, being raised to think that she was going to marry Viserys. So
yeah, she wasn't excited about it, but she was used to the idea. Like, she wasn't into him.
Well, but it was
how it works.
And with a situation like that, it's kind of like you kind of have to have some sort of exposure to it to be somewhat okay with it. And she kind of was, and that was her brother. This is someone who she fell in love with, not even knowing that that's her nephew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that might be, maybe you're right. Maybe Bran and Sam. Like, we go back to the first question you brought up in this podcast. Hey, we're coming full circle here. Nice job. They could be like, man, if we tell them that they're related, then it'll ruin their relationship. And this relationship might be what the realm needs. If they marry and become king and queen, let's not tell them. That might be a reason for them to just keep it under wraps, because they could see, if they think it through, they're like, this is not going to help anybody. Why should we tell them? It'll ruin this great thing that's developed.
Yeah, because there's that saying that, like, when Targaryens have a child, a coin is flipped, on whether they'll be batshit insane or somewhat normal. And I feel like that rumor may spread around the realm. So even if Jon and Dany are okay with staying together, everyone else in Westeros would be like, fuck that, it's just going to be another Mad King type situation where some of their offsprings are going to, we're going to have the Targaryen dynasty all over again, and we'll eventually get a Maegor the Cruel and Mad King. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Maegor, the grandson of Jon and Dany, the new Maegor. Have to write a sequel for that one.
Hell yeah. With like some of the main protagonists being like Baby Sam. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, speaking of more incest babies, right?
Hell yeah.
That's the next generation of leaders in Westeros. We're all going to be products of incest.
Yep. That's what George
They defeated the others, but still the outlook is...
All right, well, that's pretty much going to be wrapping this up. Real quick, Aziz, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you at, good sir?
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me, my man, Sir Hunt. It's great to guest on other channels. I love how friendly our community is, and we have each other on each other's channels. It's a lot of fun. Again, my name is Aziz, and I'm part of History of Westeros. We are at www.historyofwesteros.com. We are Westeros History on YouTube. We are History of Westeros on iTunes and SoundCloud, and Westeros History on Twitter and Facebook. Lots of places to find us. Pretty much any type. If you Google History of Westeros, you'll probably find one of our spots. So any of those ways will work. Hope to see you.
When you do Google History of Westeros, a picture of your cat, like you with your cat on your head, is like 3 or 4 pictures down, if I'm not mistaken. Because I was figuring out the layout for this video, and I wanted to have your emblem up on the screen. Yeah.
That's the cat of black and white. He's the Game of Thrones cat.
Yep. Well, yeah, no, thank you for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you all listening will go and check out his channel, which is linked down below in the description. Make sure you go subscribe and then, check out all of their content. My name's Mark, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. I want to also thank my patrons. Without them, these videos would not be possible. If you all watching would like to become a sponsor and show your support of Sir Hunt's Reviews, all you have to do is click the link right up here or check the link down below in the description, and that'll take you straight to my Patreon. Also, if you would like to enter my contest for once we finally reach 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube and you can win this lovely mystery Funko Pop figure, all you have to do to enter that contest is like this video, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Make sure you have your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted every time I drop Game of Thrones content. And then lastly, hop on Twitter and follow me. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. Thank you, Aziz, for coming on. This has been Sir Hunt's Reviews.